Hi guys. So sorry for doing this super late again. So this week I'm doing phonology from chapter 10 and individual differences in imagery in chapter 11. So phonology talks about a lot of speech stuff and how you produce different sounds and how you alter where your tongue is in your mouth to make different sounds. So if you've been watching my videos, you've heard me talk about German multiple times. So I'm actually going to have my husband pronounce a couple sounds for you that are not common in English whatsoever, just so you can kind of get a feel for his phonology. So come here. So first I'm going to have him pronounce, it would be like an O, but with the dots above it, which you call an umlaut. So O with an umlaut, which...
So the O is Ö.
And then the U.
The U is Ü. And the A is Ä.
Okay, do it again.
Ö, Ü, Ä.
Okay.
The other words like über, Öl, or älter, they have those letters.
Yeah, okay. Thank you. So, hopefully you could hear that. That's just some of the different ways that he pronounces things, which me as an English speaker is honestly pretty difficult to get the differences because they're so slight. One sound you make at the front of your mouth, holding your tongue a certain way, and the other sound you make at the back of your mouth, holding your tongue a certain way, and I don't get it. I kind of just make the same sound for both and call it good. But it does make a difference. I think they can pick up on it when I do it, though. So that was a little bit about, manner of production. And that the other thing with that language is, as I'm trying to listen to his parents speak and other German speakers, it talks. Let's see. I thought it was interesting when they brought up quite a few things from this chapter. So speech segmentation. They do think they pause, and we do think we pause a lot more than we do. But those pauses don't exist, and that's what makes it really hard to pick up on sometimes. And then the co-articulation, where you're making one sound before the first sound is even finished, that has a huge difference, and it makes a huge difference in being able to understand Germans. Like, if my husband speaks word by word to me, generally I can get the meaning of it, but it's really slow. So if he speaks just normally to me, a lot of times that middle part of the sentence, I have no idea what he's saying. And that's just practice, and you do get used to that, but it's definitely one of the challenges of learning another language. Let me see if I wanted to say anything. So they have different sounds for their letters, which is interesting. And that has to do with, in this chapter, like categorical perception, I guess you could say. Because they do have certain categories of sounds. But they have like double S's and then just S's, but their Z makes S sounds. So hearing it is generally okay, but trying to reproduce that, like writing it down, is really difficult because we don't really mix up the S and the Z depending on where it is in the word, but they do. It's kind of crazy. And I think I wanted to talk about nothing else from this chapter, I guess. Maybe one day I'll stop talking about German to you guys, but it relates a lot, I guess. So the next thing that I picked to do was individual differences in imagery. So this chapter talked a lot about how visualizing is very unique to each individual. And to be able to imagine that it's unique to other people and not like how you see it is really weird because, you've probably always thought about the world and visualized it in the same way, and to think that somebody is either better than you at doing that, or that they can't even imagine things like you can, it's kind of strange to think about. They talked about if you visualize with images or spatially and how that will affect, like, they say that if you spatially visualize, you might be better at certain jobs, or that's more useful. I thought that was interesting. Oh, my computer just froze. Okay. they had that example of somebody that was blind that explained their visualization and how they just said it was different. It's different from how you do, and it's more about the shape of something, and how they would need to, of course, be touching that thing to tell you what they visualized about it. But I thought that was interesting. And then, so I always thought I'm an artist, and I always was like, of course, that means I have a really vivid, not just imagination, but visualization. Because a lot of times after I've gotten the general sketch down of something, if I wanted to, I could just not look at photos if I'm just reproducing a photo, painting it, and generally get the colors right. But I guess that's just because I know how like light and shadow work. But so I always thought that I had really good visualization skills, but in doing like the demonstration, the imagery vividness demonstration, I realized that I'm not very good at it, and that I probably just score average, which is fine. But I just thought it was interesting. It's strange to think that there are like different degrees to which you imagine things, and it'd be really interesting to look into why people visualize things the way they do, if maybe that's something you develop in childhood or if you're just born with it. That'd be really interesting. As far, I would think it would be anyways. They talked about eidetic imagery, and people that are crazy good at that can look at something for half a second and then tell you everything about it. That's crazy to me, but I think that is on a spectrum as well. Like, sometimes, something I've seen, you do that thing where like you've lost something in your house, but you saw it somewhere, and then maybe eventually you remember it. And I think some people are better at that than others, of remembering where they put something. I think I'm probably better at it than my husband. I don't know if that's exactly eidetic imagery, but that's just what I thought of when they were talking about that. These chapters were really interesting. I enjoyed them. Just lots of good stuff. Good luck on the quizzes.